I feel like the fall's the best season to have arguments on the internet. You know, like, summer's meant for spending time out in the world, enjoying the weather, hanging out with your friends, other summer-related activities. And the winter is for fighting with your relatives over dinner. But the fall is the perfect time to fight with strangers on the internet. So does anybody want to fight about the fact that Paul Sykes got off way too easy? But why do I say that? It's a bit of an out there statement. He did get fired, or let go at the very least. And to put it simply, it's because of how differently his termination was treated as compared to the terminations of Mark Turpin and Matthew Meredith, being Terps and Calfcast respectively. Mark and Matthew were given the boot rather unceremoniously after their allegations. But Sjin managed to hold on for a long time, and when I do say a long time, I mean 7 years past his initial incident. And that being said, I feel like a lot of information was just glossed over. Nobody really looked into it too much. It was swept under the rug and just forgotten about. And I would like to clarify that I am not trying to say that what the other two did were any better or any worse than Paul. I'm just trying to say that Paul has a very storied history, although perhaps him not facing as harsh a consequence as one would expect was due to most of his documented indiscretions being pre-Me Too. But that's another argument for another day. So to preface this whole, video essay, I would like to start out saying that I was a big fan of the YOGSCAST growing up. I must have been 11 or 12 when I first started watching back in 2011. To put that into perspective, I would rush home to watch new episodes of Shadow of Israfel. I mean, in the 9th grade, I used my iPhone 5 to watch the Jingle Jam through my math class. And I mean, at 11, I genuinely believed that Shadow of Israfel was real. Because, I had never played Minecraft. I didn't know anything about the game except for what they showed me. And then from there, I watched just about everything else the main channel put out. And then Hannah, which I think at the time was still called YOGSCAST 2. And then I found out that there were more of them. So I watched everybody. I watched Duncan, I watched Rithian, I watched Sips, I watched Zoe, Bebop Vox, William Strife, even Ridge Dog, before his eventual falling out. I mean, fuck, do you remember Game Chap and Birdie? Either way, not really my main point. Forgive the tangent. I watched a lot of content, was the point I was trying to make. But specifically, I also watched a lot of Sjin. And I'll be the first to admit it, he's pretty fucking funny. He's got some absolute banger moments in the YOGSCAST content pantheon. I mean, just to name the popular ones, the bomb incident in Volts, and the soft-spoken pimp, or even the D&D character with the rat dad. So there's really no doubting that I, as well as many others, found him to be incredibly funny. But that also begs the question, how funny do you have to be for it to be acceptable to be a pedophile? Before we go any further, I would like to clarify that what Paul did was illegal, because while yes, 16 is the age of consent in the UK, possessing sexual images of anyone under 18 is still considered child pornography. But the actual slam dunk is the fact that he was talking to girls under 16, so... And that's what's got me so fucked up. I spent a good chunk of my formative years watching this man play a silly block game. He formed entire cornerstones of my personality. What I find funny, how I make my jokes, the games and other media I've enjoyed. I watched his Frozen obsession, and his speed builds, and his Dear Esther video that made me fucking cry the first time I watched it. And that entire time, he was out there being a fucking freak. I was probably about 15 when I first started hearing the rumors, because that's what they were at the time. Rumors. So, I don't know, probably 2014. And, of course, I heard about them on Tumblr. And I mean, they were just little titterings in the notes. You know, a tag here, I heard Shin was a predator, and maybe a call-out post like a comprehensive guide to what Shin did, followed by a myriad of plausible deniability from mostly underaged fans. And I won't lie, at 15, I didn't think anything of it. Even if it was true, he's just talking, so what's the big deal? And while time has wizened me and proven that I was a fucking idiot, at the time, I just simply brushed it off and went along my day continuing to watch content. That being said, a lot of this information that I'm going to be providing comes from 2014 and prior. So it's a little hard to backdate some of this, because online platforms that have archived it can be either a little incomplete or full of dead links, which, I mean, is to be expected. It's been, tracking this to the very beginning, it's over a decade now. Sometimes the website hasn't shut down, people move on. People close their blog, they lock their posts, they delete things. But thankfully there are 2 blogs that have kept things backdated, and they are both rather easily accessible to your average Yang. So I would like to give a personal thanks to YOGSCAST blog and YShinY. I have tried to make this as comprehensive and as easily digestible as possible. Now that we have this egregiously long prelude, here we are at the beginning. Alright, so I lied. This is the first piece of evidence I ever saw, as a 15-year-old. And it is coming from Anya Ferris, aka Paul's ex, aka Minty Minute. And she also worked at the YOGSCAST up until 2015 as an administration coordinator. Basically, she organized and managed the YOGSCAST website and their forums. So this post comes directly from her Tumblr and was posted in April of 2014. Minty writes, "This will be the last stupid question I answer from an Anon. Just because people aren't posting every tiny detail publicly doesn't mean people haven't come forward. I've said so many times it's hard to speak up. Put yourselves in their shoes and think about it. Actually think about it. Would you be brave enough to come forward? To say things about someone you believed was a friend, when in reality, they aren't? And once you shared your experiences, would you be able to deal with the hatred from fans who don't believe you, who say you're lying and that your screen caps are fake? And even with all that, would you be brave enough to report it? Asking your mum to drive you to the station? Having to tell your family is even being scarier than reporting it to the police. And both make it more real, more impossible to deny that these things happen to you. Makes you feel silly and judged for believing anything he said, for thinking he's a friend. And that's probably not even the half of it. Pretty sure if your answer is no to the above, you voided your own argument, and it's really not difficult to understand when you actually give it some thought." So at the time, this was very shortly post-breakup, and she was written off by the community at large as a bitter ex. But reading this for the first time without context was incredibly confusing for, 15-year-old me, and as somebody who was not at the time heavily entrenched in the Yogs drama, I just let it slip by. But what she is referring to here is the penultimate, I suppose, incident between Paul and a 16-year-old girl, which I will now read out to you. The girl's name has been blurred, so I shall be referring to her as Girl A. Girl A writes, "Haha, reverse psychology. It's almost like you're considering it." She responds, "Possibly, but I really can't, hee hee." Paul says, "Do it." She responds, "I would, if I could." Paul replies, "Oh, you mean you don't have a camera?" To which she responds, "I do, but it's against my morals to send pictures, hee hee." Paul replies, "Haha, see, this is why I said you shouldn't." She responds, "Hee hee, the real question is, what does Shin look like IRL?" Paul responds, "It's against my morals to send pictures. I have a personal Facebook account on my friends list. Maybe you can guess who I am." Girl A responds, "Really? Well, let the search begin." To which Paul replies, "Okay, so you need a hint, because there's tons of guys on here." Alright, Moving on, I am going to be cutting some of this for brevity. This is later on in the same night. Paul writes, "You got me so excited with temptations of sending me that picture, and now I feel like I can't go to sleep until I see." She responds, "Haha, I'm a tease. Sorry, hee hee." Paul replies, "Haha, so what if we meet halfway? I can see you in your underwear?" She replies, maybe. To which Paul says, "And you can even pull the sides and front down just enough to keep it still safe?" She replies, "Haha, I'll think about it." Paul goes, "Haha, do it." "So I guess I'm not getting any pictures then." Girl A responds, "I should probably think about it a bit more." Paul responds, "You shouldn't. I want you, Girl A. And I know it turns you on the thought of me doing it." She responds, "True, hee hee, but aren't you a little concerned about the age difference?" To which Paul replies, "There's more than 3,000 miles between us. I'm so hard thinking about seeing you now." Girl A responds, "I'll have to get onto those pictures sooner rather than later, then. It'll have to be a bit later." Paul asks, "Okay, but how long?" Girl A responds, "Soon. I'm just a little nervous, though." Paul replies, "Me too, and also excited. Is it getting closer to soon?" Girl A responds, "Yes, soon. Paul responds, "Oh God, longest soon ever." Just so you know, there's about 20 minutes between those messages. She responds, "I'm waiting for everyone in the house to go to bed, haha, it's 12 a.m. Paul responds, "Ah, okay." She says, "Hee hee, sorry for taking so long." Paul replies, "It's okay, are they asleep?" She responds, "I'd better wait just a few more mins, just in case." Paul replies, "Okay." So, while I'm going to paraphrase future interactions, I felt the need to read this one out in full, because holy fuck did I cringe. And I've thought about how to make this video, if I should interject humor or not. But the fact of the matter is, there's no other feeling other than I just want to crawl inside my skin and eat my bones. Maybe it's because I'm a woman. And I think this is probably true for a lot of females. Maybe, not even females. People in my age range. But just seeing a grown man try and groom a 16-year-old. I don't know. This incident is so weird for me to think about. Because this is 2012. So it's been 9 years. And she was 16, so she's probably about 25. I don't know. She sent him the nudes. And she wrote that he'd ghosted her afterwards, which definitely probably for the better that she did not have any more contact with him. But I cannot imagine that him doing that did not absolutely obliterate her self-esteem completely. I'm once again getting off topic, forgive me. But that is the very first piece of documented buffoonery. So moving swiftly on, this is going to be a long one. These interactions are between a guy named Nathus and Sjin. And Nathus has kindly documented a lot. More than I think anybody else has done single-handedly. So their conversation is mostly related to Rezzed. Now, how Sjin and Nathus met was Nathus sent a lewd Tumblr message, and Sjin added him to Skype, and they started talking to each other rather regularly. Their conversation is mostly mundane, but he does get rather caught up on what Nathus wrote. In this part of the text chat, he says, "So were you, super horny the day you sent those messages or something?" To which Nathus responded, "Ha, I think I just had a really derpy brain thinking, I wonder if Sjin is going to respond to that kind of thing. And here we are." And then there's Nathus to Sjin. So Nathus says, "The fact that you keep bringing up those Tumblr asks makes me think you're the horny one." To which Paul says, "Haha, maybe it is. But I love my girlfriend very much, so don't get your hopes up." Paul being horny on main again, "Are you starting to change your mind?" And then Nathus goes, "About what?" Paul replies with, "About next weekend." Nathus responds, "What about next weekend?" Paul says, "What you suggested." To which Nathus reminds him, you don't want to cheat on your girlfriend, remember? To which Paul says, yeah, I don't and I won't. But I don't know, you seem to deflect saying that you never actually wanted to do it. And I don't know, I'm trying to work out how true that was. To which Nathus responds, it's complicated, you know? I think that the fantasy is one thing, but then it seems like it's becoming reality, and suddenly it becomes super scary. So yeah, Nathus goes on to tell Sjin that he has a big crush on him. And then Sjin asks if he's the only one going to the con, and then no, Nathus is going with his other half. They have some more casual flirting. And then Paul just pulls out the, do you want to have sex this weekend? Sorry, I will stop teasing you and keep it strictly friendly, haha. That wasn't really flirting, really, was it? Okay, I don't know. I better head to the office. The main reason that this entire chat log was included, other than the sexual stuff, was Paul specifically telling Nathus that the Yogs were going to be at the Hilton. And it seems rather innocuous, you know, looks like I'm staying at the, Hilton. But letting a fan know where you, and likely all of your colleagues, are going to be at a big event like Rezzed, just letting a random person on the internet, is a bad look. And that's really the highlight of that chat log. For brevity's sake, there will be some extra reading, I suppose, linked at the bottom, being the emails sent between Nathus, Kim, and Hannah. But I will be reading out to you now the message Nathus sent to Kim. So Nathus writes to Kim, this is going to be a really ridiculous message, and I am so sorry for bothering you with it. I was just getting reference images to draw a piece of fan art of Sjin's Minecraft character. It's no secret that Sjin is basically my idol, and I came across a Tumblr page dedicated to accusing him of being an internet predator, with screenshots of him speaking to 16-year-old girls on Facebook, Skype, and Tumblr, and asking them for nude photos, etc. Now, I 110% believe that that is all just randomly knocked up images created by people trolling and generally being nasty, as I cannot believe in a million years that he would ever be dumb enough to use any of his YOGSCAST accounts to flirt with people online, let alone the fact that they were all of age in the UK and he has a girlfriend. But it has left me feeling rather sick to my stomach. I don't understand why people would do something like this. I have a lot to thank Sjin for. His videos have been insanely helpful for me in a very dark times, and sadly, I'll probably never get to tell him that. But the fact that he continues to create content is the only thing that matters. The fact that he has continued to do so, whilst people have been doing things like this, is even more admirable. Wow. Really shocked and disappointed in people. Sorry to randomly load this all off on you, Kim. It's probably a very poor decision on my part, but I feel like I need to get it off my chest. I hope that you're doing well and that your jaw's okay. Sorry again. So Kim responds about a week later, and she replies with, hey Nathus, don't worry, I recently discovered that Tumblr too, and to be honest, I didn't know what to think. I don't really know Sjin that well. We only properly started talking in the office since March. But I'd like to think we're pretty good friends now, especially with the collabs we do. It's weird, I'm shocked, but I feel sorry for him. I haven't spoken directly with him about it, because how the hell do you start that conversation? I'm someone who's very much against what he did, but on the other hand, I can see why he did it. He was lonely at the time, new to his fame, and very, very stupid. I had a quiet word with someone else in the office about it, especially since as I'd inadvertently named my Saints Row EP after that Tumblr name, Jesus. Side note, this is referencing the Tumblr blog Why Sjin Why. And they said he was very, very sorry for what he did. And it was a moment of weakness when his ego and his newfound internet attention got the better of him. I can't ask you to give him a second chance. It's pretty heartbreaking to discover your friend or someone you look up to did something as low as that. But I'd like to say he's come a long way from that. I don't know if that helps either. It never went anywhere with any of those girls. And if he ever did it again, very unlikely, believe me, I'll be the first one to punch him straight in the nuts. Nathus responded, I'm definitely disappointed and really surprised he'd do something so utterly silly. I really thought he'd have more sense than that. Still, I feel like I cannot judge him too harshly. Lord knows people do a lot worse on the internet. Ultimately, I feel like I'm more disappointed that he took advantage of his popularity and position, rather than the fact that he tried to enjoy some younger girls. Thanks for responding to me so honestly. You could have easily dismissed the matter, and the fact that you were so open has helped me realize it's not as bad as it could be. I'm sure that if Lewis and Co. know about this, he'll have been approached about it and be suitably reprimanded. Man, what the fuck? Reading this was a bit strange, because at this point, Kim is the only one to really address anything. And also that last paragraph of hers. And if he ever did it again, very unlikely, believe me, I'll be the first one to punch him straight in the nuts. I wonder if she ever actually did. I doubt it. And I do appreciate how much Nathus has supplied to this. But him saying that he's more disappointed that he took advantage of his popularity rather than enjoying some younger girls is a bit blasé, in my opinion. I'd also like to point out that Lewis didn't do shit, at least these first couple rounds of accusations. Alright, moving on from that fucking gong show, we have receipts from Girl B. This was also collected by Nathus, so while he may have had some icky opinions, there's this. Sjin starts out saying, and I'm gonna read parts of this verbatim, but Sjin starts out this entire chat log with, we just have, a kind of unique relationship, I guess, where I feel like I could talk to you. But yeah, I understand why you're thinking the way you are. You trust me? She never made me promise not to show anybody, and I never said I wouldn't. But I won't show anybody except for you. Well, it was just a small, quick thing, and you deleted it like I knew you would. And I will delete yours tonight, because I wanna kinda move on, I guess. He's very clearly talking about sending nudes. So he got nudes from some other girl, and then he sent them to Girl B. But Girl B also sent him nudes, so he's got 2 different sets of nudes here. And it's very likely that if he's sharing nudes with her, he's shared his nudes with plenty of other women. So the one thing that's stood out to me with the conversations he's had with these girls is just how, for lack of a better term, juvenile they are. And I mean, it really does come off as, at this point, classic groomer speak. The, I won't share it with anybody except for you, haha. You trust me, right? She never made me promise not to show anybody. It's very classic, manipulative, sort of, oh, I'm just being goofy sharing this girl's nudes with another girl, hee hee. Whatever. This is the last piece of the Nathus saga, I guess you'd call it. He didn't put a year on this one, but this is not between Sjin and somebody. This is Nathus talking to another girl who we will call C. So C says, I'm just gonna say this now. Sjin didn't flat out say these things. He hinted at them again and again. That counts, right? That I don't feel safe because what he suggested he wanted? I'm not sure if I'm overreaching because lately I've been doubting myself, so I'm not sure if I can give you the answer right now. But it was a pretty big hint. Not playful, gross joking either. Nathus responds to her, no, don't doubt yourself. It's clear that whatever he did say or do, he made you uncomfortable. That means that he was in the wrong for that. Can you remember what kind of words he used in his hints? Girl C responds, so I'm certain he means it, but he wrote, have you ever touched your sister sexually? I said no. And he sounded disappointed, but I don't remember exactly what he said. And he also said he would touch a 13-year-old if he ever got the chance, and if there were no laws against it. He also said he fucked a 13 to 14-year-old when he was 19. Those I can quote him in and be 100% sure. And that's the thing, is there are pieces of evidence, accusations, I suppose, that don't have screenshots to back them up. So on one hand, I can understand, take them with a grain of salt, but on the other hand, there may be some merit to them, so that's why they're in here. Because sometimes you don't religiously take screenshots of everything. Sometimes you delete accounts, you block people, you delete threads, you don't want to remember what happened to you. You just want them gone. Sometimes you are fucking 15 on the internet and you don't think you're ever gonna need them. Because why would you? You're 15. You're on Twitter having fucking anime discourse. You're talking about why fucking Yuri on Ice is the best thing since sliced bread. Why fucking Haikyuu is so good. Or why the end of Bleach was so dog shit. Sometimes you don't keep everything a predator sent to you. Alright, I'm getting a little heated, so we're gonna move on. So this is a collection of smaller screenshots, 1 or 2 sentences, over a myriad of different social media sites. This first one is Facebook, coming from a girl named Nellie. Alright, so we're dropped in the middle of a conversation here, but Sjin goes, "Yes, especially regarding sex." Which Nellie responds, "Indeed, just pop in a dirty comment here and there and you're a winner." To which Sjin replies, "Unless you're horny. Then it can lead to bad places." Nellie responds, "But then, being inappropriate is inappropriate, so then does that make being inappropriate inappropriate?" Sjin responds with, "Can we go back to the part where we were talking about masturbation and sex?" To which she responds with, "If you really want to." This one comes from, I think, Facebook. He is talking to a teenage girl. He says, "I'm 28. To which the girl responds with, "How does it feel?" Paul says, "Feels okay, haha. Doesn't really feel like anything." So is 17 old enough for me to flirt with? To which she responds, "Oh, disappointed. I thought once you hit 25 you sprout powers of awesomeness. And hey, cheeky." We don't get any more context for that situation, but I would say, maybe if you're 28, don't be talking to 17-year-olds. This is another short post from Facebook, to which this girl says, "Nothing wrong with getting compliments now and then, so thanks, lol." Sjin replies with, "No problem. You have gorgeous boobs." I don't even have, a comment for that one. That one's just, this is his public Facebook account. It is the YOGSCAST Sjin. It's not Paul Sykes. It's not just Sjin, it's YOGSCAST Sjin. Putting your best foot forward. Oh, this one is coming from his Tumblr, to which the person asks, "What are your pet peeves?" And then Sjin responds, "Not sure, really. Don't have many. If I ask you for your Skype, MSN, anything, can you promise not to tell anybody? I don't want to get spammed with requests, and I'm bored." So, starting from the top, going a bit more in depth, it's just, I don't even know the term to use for the cum-brained, I guess. Is that the term? The man, everybody likes a good masturbation joke, I suppose. But this was more added at the end to reinforce that Paul has a habit of saying weird shit to women. Just in general. This is not him talking, this is not him, pulling out one of the boys, with the bros, whatever locker room talk argument. This is him purposefully going out, speaking to girls, just about, their tits, their pussies. "Hey, can you send me some nudes? Are you old enough to flirt with? Let's talk about masturbation." And it's, it seems harmless for the most part, I guess. But you have to take into account, this man was at the time, a moderately sized creator, rather large, I guess, by 2013 standards. So yeah, I guess on the outside looking in, it doesn't seem that bad. But then hindsight kicks you in the nuts, and you remember that these girls were 16. One was 17. So winner, chicken fucking dinner there, I guess. We're moving on. Again, because I'm getting heated. This one is probably one of my favorites. I have this one printed out and pinned to my wall because I like it so much. I don't even know what the fuck kind of antiquated site they're using to talk to each other. That's how old this thing is. So Sjin writes, "Please don't burn my life to cinders. I am begging you. Did those things ages ago. I have stopped. I still talk to some people I used to know, but I don't ask them for nudes. I'm so sorry, I can't live with myself if this gets out." To which the person responds with, "We want you to stop talking to multiple girls and leading them on." To which Sjin replies, "I spent hours crying this morning. It still might all be over. You have my word, everything stops." So the reason this is my favorite is because this is the only time I can find where he's ever actually admitted to doing something wrong. Well, this is the only time he's ever admitted to asking for nudes. Full stop. He's never actually admitted to asking underage girls for nudes. But this whole post is really that, emotional, cry typing. "Oh, I didn't mean to do it. Please don't burn my wife to cinders." Kind of bullshit. And it's one of those things where it's, if you didn't want this to happen, you would have stopped asking underage girls for pictures of their pussies, for one. Like, time after time you have fucked this up of your own volition. This is purely on you. Like, it's not rocket science. Like, you're just a fucking jackass. I hate you. Like, genuinely. But either way, please don't burn my life to cinders is fucking hilarious. Objectively. If you don't think it's funny, you're wrong. So there's not nearly as much from the 2016 era on that was, like, super documented as this shit was. So these are two different conversations. The first one starts out with, we'll call her Girl D. I just complain a lot, but I think women do that a lot. Haha. To which Paul responds, well, when you're emotionally vulnerable is the best time to try and talk my way into your pants. We'll put a pin in that. Moving on to the second chat, Paul says, let's fix that. You should come visit tonight just to chat. But I also want to eat you. To which Girl D responds, what about your GF though? Don't want her finding out or anything. Don't want to hurt anyone in the process of me getting off, haha. To which he responds, she wouldn't find out. Have fun at the gym. I'll be in bed, imagining you squatting on my face. Alright, so these are both just like mad disrespectful. At this point in time, he's dating Niju, who is a Twitter artist. You know, his mentality is, we can fuck as long as, she doesn't know. Tee-hee, ooh-woo. Because even after all these years, he's still using that fucking cat face when trying to talk to women. Also, what's with the negging? I mean, is it negging? I might be wrong. Maybe if you have allegations of being a fucking sexual pervert, you wouldn't want to talk to women like that. Just in general. Like, you wouldn't want to talk to girls like that. Please sit on my face. Anyway, so we're going to move on to the other ex of Sjin and her statement on the matter. So this is from Niju. Stop excusing someone's crappy behavior because they're your fave and you like their vids, or saying they did nothing wrong or that people are just overreacting. Boyo, if you think repeatedly behaving like this to complete strangers online is okay, please go and reevaluate yourself. What's an inappropriate compliment? I'm talking about sexually charged comments. Like how you're aroused by them, or how sexy their body is, or how you'd like to do them. Litmus test. If you wouldn't say it to a parent or sibling, you probably shouldn't say it to a stranger. It's fucking weird. Before you say, well, I wouldn't be offended if someone says that to me, this is a big red flag, especially for popular creators who have fans who are young. When fans confess their desires to their idol, it's up to the idol to end it and not escalate it. They should know better. It's extremely easy to get swept up when you're giddy and talking to a fave. I'm not saying having DM chats with your fave is inherently bad. There's a fine line between appropriate and inappropriate conduct and convo topics when you're in that setting, out of the public's view. And if you can't distinguish between those two when talking to someone you barely know, especially if there's a power or influence imbalance between an idol and their fan, and do everyone a favor and don't start nor continue a DM conversation until you have that shit figured out. By the way, saying you're sorry and not changing your behavior is another form of manipulation. You're not sorry for your harmful behavior, you're sorry you got caught. First off, Niju went off the shits there, and second off, I mean, she's really put this in the best way I've seen anybody put it. She makes some great, just general points about relationships on the internet between fan and idol. The parasocial nature, really, that we have cultivated from, YouTube cult of personality bullshit. It's exceptionally easy for that kind of power to be abused. Because people are scared to come forward and scared to be blamed for interacting with the curator. And it's royally fucked, but Paul has done that. Again and again, he has routinely leveraged his popularity and his sphere of influence to pull girls into uncomfortable situations, and then made them feel like they can't say no and they can't stay away. And I mean, it's funny in hindsight. Not funny, haha, like funny, cry in the corner because you're sad, but online grooming, realistically, the only thing you have to do to get away is just turn off the computer. But it's not that fucking easy, is it? So anyway, back to the Twitter screenshots. This is in response to the drama at the time, to which we're just gonna call them Snail. So Snail writes, the dude full on asked me to send him vagina pics knowing full well I was a child. But yeah, maybe it's my fault for taking it the wrong way, seeing it as inappropriate. They continue on, I was fucking 15, dude. I didn't even know what sexting was. And I'd like to reiterate, there's not always going to be hard evidence for allegations. Not everyone religiously saves their convos. Not everyone thinks they're being groomed. Some people don't even realize it. Sometimes you're 15 and your favorite YouTuber starts talking to you and you are over the fucking moon. And sometimes they hurt you. That closes the period of allegations from the fans. Now we get to move on. Allegations from his own fucking coworkers. Was that a good segue? I think it was. Whatever. Either way. His aptitude for creeping on girls and women has continued, and to his own coworkers. Well, ex-coworkers, I guess. This is Boof's official statement. I wanted to mention it at another point. I think this is as good a time as any. Sjin continued to ask me if I would go back to his flat or if I would hang out with him when I was in Bristol. After he left the YOGSCAST, there was never any insinuation as to what would happen if I went. But I did not feel it was a good idea, especially as I mentioned I was having panic attacks at one point. I do not believe he has changed or will change. He never implied anything. But I feel it was important to note, I have no doubt he has nothing to lose. He could do anything. And that's part that's, like, really whack to me. Paul's really trying to pull this shit, like, post-termination. And to, like, an ex-coworker, I'm not trying to downplay what he did. But this is really one of those, like, maybe don't shit where you sleep, you fucking moron. So we do have a situation involving Boof in the midst of all of this. So I do need to add a bit of context to the tweet that Boof is replying to. And it is... She did something very not cool. Arguably pretty fucking abhorrent. But, during the legendary Fuck You stream, which I will have... We'll put a pin in this because we will come back to it. In 2016, she sent a donation to Lewis and Mark. And what the donation said was... It's difficult to be in the public eye, especially when people don't expect others to fuck them over. This shouldn't be made public, really. You guys do great. Keep it up. Give Sjin a hug too. P.S. I still flirt with Lewis. Try to stop me. Which is a bad look, I'm not gonna lie. The person she is responding to says, why should two people lie about this? I thought you grew as a person since 2016, but apparently... You still don't believe victims if the abusers are one of your friends. And then Boof responds, FYI, he has evidence against that too. Of course I believe the victims of Sjin and Terps because they fucking well tried it on me too. There, I said it. Go fuck yourselves. Being a woman is bullshit. She goes on to say, I love my network. I hold no ill will to them. They don't know either. I never told them because I thought I could take it until somebody accuses me of shit. They're gonna trust what they're told by their friends until a lot of evidence amounts, okay? And I did it. Bam. Out. And still, today, feels like I'm doing something wrong by saying it. I'm ashamed of myself for it happening. Just speak up and stay safe. G chimes in with, Boof, I'm sorry, and me too, heart, love you. Which, I mean, reading this really puts that donation message into a weird spot, because while it was an offhand comment, she sent it to one of her abusers, Terps. So, like, was this before? After? Like, I mean, it happens from time to time. You become kind of like a pick-me girl in response to trauma. You know, they hurt you, a codependency forms, whatever. You seem like you're one of the boys, you know. I'm not going to psychoanalyze her reasoning any more than that. So, both Boof and G have been preyed on by Mark Turpin or Paul Sykes or both, or maybe only one, which, I mean, is a bit of a shit look when you have, like, two of your female employees are coming forward about your fucking CEO and, like, your cornerstone flagship member. And then there's this bit that Boof writes, I thought I was the only victim, so I never said anything. If I knew at the time that other younger girls were getting far worse, then it's a different timeline. Your story is valid. Now, I don't want to, how do I put this? I don't want to say bullshit, but like, you sent a message, you sent a donation on a stream 3 years before this about Sjin being accused of being a fucking freak. I mean, I can understand not wanting to come forward, but I don't fully believe that you didn't know. You know, I never want to call a victim a liar, but I definitely do not think you're a truther in this case. And I mean, I get it to a certain extent. Like, he hurt you. He hurt people. He hurt girls and women more specifically. And there's the fear and the stigma of coming forward to report that kind of abuse. The fear of it being brushed off. You know, it's not a big deal. He's just a cheeky flirter. Don't know why you're telling me this. You probably just want attention. You know, he never talked to underage girls. So, you know, on that regard, I understand. But at the same time, there are numerous girls whose lives have been changed because some e-celeb wanted fucking pictures of underage girl pussy. Or an adult woman's pussy. I don't know how old Boof is. I mean, to be fair, if he was trying to get grand pussy, you know, he wanted that fucking mommy milker's MILF pussy, I would make this video because it's not harmless flirting. Paul leveraged his fame to initiate multiple sexual relationships with girls. He cheated on just about every partner he's been known to have. He's harassed girls for nudes. He fucking shared the pictures. So, Boof, I am not trying to say that you didn't think you were the only victim, but I think you knew you weren't the only victim. But either way, it's still not your fault, because he didn't care who he hurt, because as long as the employer didn't give a shit and just slapped him on the wrist, he was fine. And which is us moving on to Lewis. So, this first post comes from around the time of Minty's post, or Anya's, the one I read at the very beginning of this fucking video. And Lewis writes on Reddit, "To cut to the chase, a group of butthurt Tumblr people are mad at Sjin due to some flirty chats with lady fans 2 to 3 years ago, and are demanding he apologize for being awkward, I guess? I know how he feels, since almost all my interactions with women are super awkward. So some chat logs were posted, and sure, they are easy to fake, but they're pretty bland and boring, with no red-hot dick pics or meetings in person, unfortunately. Unlike Terps's Twitter DMs. We spoke about it at the time, and we agreed it was bullshit, and he should ignore it, but his now ex-girlfriend Minty, and I guess also her current boyfriend, Teutron, who were both made redundant over Christmas for financial reasons, are now posting about it, trying to drum up some drama for some reason. It's all very upsetting, with Tumblr claiming to be chatting up people who were not 18, and now Sjin being called all sorts of names. It's a real shame, because I used to quite like Minty and Teutron, and now I've lost all respect for both of them. And quite honestly, hope to never see them again. I'm sure you'll all want to talk about this exciting new drama from here, so please, get it out of your system so we can move on and make jokes about it in the future. Although it isn't really very funny. So I think we can all say that this was probably not the best way to address this situation whatsoever. I mean, even if you don't believe the allegations, it isn't morally right, nor is it a very smart business practice to refer to people as butthurt in, like, a company setting. Like, more than anything, like, if I hadn't known that Lewis posted this, I would have thought this was, like, some fucking 17-year-old Sjin apologist. But what's worse is that, like, Lewis would later on admit to knowing that Paul was running around with underage girls. Messaging underage girls. So the part where he says, "It's very upsetting," with Tumblr claiming he was chatting up people who were not 18. He's just full of shit. Like, that's a bold-faced fucking lie right there. And then we move on to his really just, epic gamer moment from Twitter, to which, it is a screen cap of a Steam message, to which Sips writes, "Okay, gotta come clean. Just posted this on Tumblr. Basically, Sjin flirted with me on Skype a bunch of times and manipulated me into recording Minecraft with him. Multiple series." To which Lewis just captions it, "It's all coming out." So this official, I guess, statement from Lewis, this time including Chris Lovaz, better known as Sips, is so incredibly fucking juvenile. I mean, it really makes Sips look like a fucking dickhead. Although I will say, Chris has had a better reaction following Paul being let go.
So Shin's left the YOGSCAST amid a bunch of allegations that he was being inappropriate with fans, similar to Terps, and he's gone. That's it. He's taking a break. But unlike Terps, he will come back and do his own thing at some point, I'd imagine. So he just won't be in the YOGSCAST, but he will come back at some point and do his own. I don't know what that is. I don't have much info to give you guys other than what Lewis said. If you know people who were affected by this and they need help them. Again, it's not a great thing that's happened, and it's just kind of shitty, isn't it? But he's left. He's going to take a break, and he'll come back and do stuff on his own, I guess. I've been friends with him for years. We worked together. We came up on YouTube together. So it's always going to be a shitty one, similar to Terps, for me personally. But the emphasis should be on the people that were affected by the stuff that's happened. So let it serve as a way for this shit to not happen further. Again, like I said with Terps, right? And I think that's about all I can say about it.
So, I mean, perhaps having a daughter has tempered his indifference, or perhaps he's just old now. Who knows? But we're gonna go tackle Lewis some more, and his poor reactions to this. So if you were there for it, I'm sure you keenly remembered the legendary Fuck You stream. And if you weren't there for it, well, have I got a treat for you. Now, initially, I had read out the caption portions, but I actually managed to find a lovely cut version thanks to El Punt Thing. So thank you so much for providing this copy, as I was not able to find another one.
I looked at it at the time and I was like, this is bullshit, so fuck off, right? And it pisses me off, really does, when people try and bring up this shit. But if you start talking about me being flirty on the internet with girls as allegations or some sort of abuse or things, or malicious or deception or any of these words that are not, right, real, and you start making headlines, fuck you. I thought it was time for me to say something, even though I don't want to. But I feel like if I don't say something, which is fuck you to all the people who are making a mountain out of a molehill, or trying to drum up drama when none exists, fuck you.
So this was the stream that Boof donated to. But also, given the fact that Terps was later let go for sexual misconduct, this makes it so much worse. But also fucking hilarious. Like, it's funny. It's not funny, but it's funny, you know? So here it is, the last part of this. I've read Paul's statement more times than I'd like to think about. I think my brain's melted, actually, at this point. And, for lack of a better term, it's just pathetic. I mean, to read it out to you in full. Just to let you know, I'm stepping away from the YOGSCAST after 8 years. It's been an intense few weeks for everybody, but I believe this is my best way forward. For a long time, I've chatted privately with community members, but I've come to realize this behavior might not be considered appropriate by everybody. I'm really sorry if my actions have caused any upset to anyone. I'm going to be taking a lot more time off, but plan to continue making content independently one day when I'm ready. So we got 2 paragraphs. 2. He spent 7 years using his platform to harass girls. And all he can say for himself is, I'm really sorry if my actions have caused any upset to anyone. And that's the closest thing in this that we get to an apology. So, 1 sentence, 12 words, and then to follow it up with plans for a comeback. Really. I have no doubt he'll still have an audience. I mean, you see it all the time in the subreddit, in the community tabs of the channel. I think the Sjin Court is still kicking around. Fuck, even that Mad Cat had such a hard time keeping Paul out of his videos. He ended up getting kicked out of the YOGSCAST. Still, to have your final statement end with a hope to return is just shitty. I spent most of my formative years watching this man make content. His Let's Build, Erebor, his Feed the World, the Tangle build, like that's with that stupid modified texture pack that turned nether brick blue so he could use it for the roof. All those good memories, and now they're just tainted. He can't even pony up and admit he fucked up. How sad. But here we are. I guess his actions have finally had some kind of consequence, which, I mean, it's good. He's out of a job. I can't help just feel kind of empty. Either way. There's so much more I could have added to this, but for my sanity and yours, I cut it down. Everything I've talked about will be linked in the box below. And Paul, if you're watching this, I hope your life has burned to cinders. I'm Milford Brinley. I'm sorry, this has been a video, and I don't have an outro. Goodbye.